Live
Okay,
from British Columbia.
live from British Columbia, Canada. This is the Georgie and Patty Show, episode 29. I am Georgie,
And I am Patty.
and welcome to Motivation Monday. That's my
Woohoo.
broadcaster voice. Do you like it?
I love it. It is just bang on.
Yeah,
We should both talk in our broadcaster voices.
we should both talk. Why do I feel like I have to have a serious face for this? So I can't do it. Sorry, back. We really promote being authentic and U-shaped people and U-shaped businesses. So I think I'm going to ditch my broadcaster voice and go back to my own. That's how it's going to work for today. All right, so we have our new edition of Motivation Monday today, which is awesome, and we're excited about that. So I am going to still start with our quote of the day because I like them. So our quote of the day is, every action you take is like a vote for the type of person you want to become, by James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits, which I like that book too. I think it might probably show up one of these days in our Tuesday sessions. But I think it helps to bring awareness to, what's the kind of person that I want to be? How do I want to represent my business, right? And recognizing, everything I'm doing is actually putting that out there. This is the kind of person I want to become, which is also linked to action, motivation, right? All of those things that
No pressure. No pressure there.
no pressure there that fits into what we're doing today. And I also have a question of the day for all of our lovely participants. So being that it's a Monday morning, I'm curious, what's your motivation level today on this Monday? So on a scale of 1 to 10, if you want to play, and this goes for all the people on Facebook as well, type in the chat, how are you feeling today? What's your motivation? 8, 6, like it. Awesome.
It's a
Very
countdown.
good. Yeah, right?
Beginning
Exactly.
of a pattern. Is anyone 4?
Oh, 7. We're going up. 8. Nice. Amazing. That's what I like to see.
10.
10.
We have an
We're
overachiever in
moving.
the crowd.
That's right. Love it. Love it. Awesome. That sounds fantastic. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to bring it on. That's right.
Bring it on. Let's see if we can crank that up to 11, right?
That's right. Let's put some rocket fuel in these people. Get things moving.
All right. Too generic. It depends on what it relates to. A high level of motivation for overthinking.
That's right. That's right.
How about just in general? How motivated, how activated, how energetic do you feel this morning?
That's right.
But actually, that's actually a really good segue into what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share my screen. We're trying so many new things today. Oh, just so many new things. Hey, I got the green. I got the green rectangle of awesomeness. Shows that I'm sharing the proper screen. Woo-hoo. Nice. So welcome to Motivation Monday. This is going to it's going to be a regular feature until we get tired of it. When Georgie and I talk about our work, we've got 3 main areas that we focus on. One is clarity. Another is sales and marketing skills. And the third is taking action. If you can put all 3 of those things together, you can make a really good living in your purpose-driven business. And this falls under the taking action kind of category, which is this idea of Motivation Monday and getting a week off to a great start, getting into action, all of that. So over the next few weeks, we're going to explore all sorts of topics related to this subject. So to introduce that, when I sit down to make these PowerPoint decks, I go to, for those of you who are wondering where the images come from, it's a site called iClipArt.com. I have a subscription where I can get images for the deck. And I go in and I type in words to get some images, to get some ideas of what's going to go on the slides. And this is what I got when I typed in motivation. And I looked at that and I went, I hate these. I think there's a lot of stuff about motivation motivational quotes, the whole topic gets a really bad rap in some circles. And I think I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that what is motivating to one person is totally freaking annoying to somebody else. So it's like this kind of no excuses, go for a reward, acronyms stand for silly things. Sweat is fat crying. It's like, this shit doesn't motivate me at all. All it does is motivate me to find different pictures and different ideas of what motivation is. So our permission slip in terms of motivation is to ignore the crap advice and do what works for you. And when I say crap advice, I mean advice that's crap for you. Because if sweat makes fat cry is motivating for you, then plaster it all over your walls. It's like, if it works, do it. And if it doesn't, ignore it. And as always, we're coming from this place of find something that works for you. And nobody else has to like it. They don't have to agree with it. And just because it works for Bob down the street doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. And that's cool. So what we're going to present are some ideas. Like the field of motivation and getting yourself to take action, make changes is enormous. It is enormous. There is brain science and psychology and there's information that comes from high performance sports and from academia and from scientists, as we'll see later today. And we're going to share a bunch of stuff, interesting ideas, and you can evaluate whether or not that's something you want to try, whether or not it's something that might work for you, whether you find it helpful or not. So to get us started on this whole idea of motivation and taking action, let's begin with a definition. When we look at the dictionary definition of motivation, we get a couple of entries. The first one being the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. And definition number 2, kind of the general desire or willingness of someone to do something. It isn't this everything in terms of taking action towards your goal. Is to have some reason to do it and have that willingness to actually get it done. This is where we're at right now. We all have those things that we don't feel all that particularly motivated to do. This is the truth. There's some things that we're going to be highly motivated to do, and other things that we are going to be less motivated to do. And you may be highly motivated to read a book or watch Netflix and less motivated to do some marketing for your business. Happens. So when I think about motivation, this is where I start. This one is big for me. That's why I'm sharing it today on the Motivation Monday. First of all, our early morning pop quiz. Anyone want to guess who this person is? I see the chat lighting up, but I can't see what the answer.
My hair looks like that right now. That's awesome. I failed the quiz this morning,
that would be the incorrect answer.
Yes, I gave the wrong answer too.
It's interesting. This guy's name is kind of making the rounds during this virus as an example of somebody who was highly motivated during a shutdown. We have a guess?
Yeah.
We have another
COVID.
guess? COVID.
Descartes?
This is a great sentence. COVID. Great answer. This is Sir Isaac Newton. And Sir Isaac Newton is the fellow that happened upon this idea of inertia. And inertia, to me, is a really relevant kind of a construct to look at. And Newton's first law of motion is that an object either remains at rest or it continues to move at a constant velocity unless acted upon by a force, which is kind of this idea. For me, inertia in my life looks like once I get going on something, I keep moving. And once I stop, I stop. And I have trouble stopping sometimes, and I have trouble getting going sometimes. This is my personal experience, that inertia is the thing that I'm always needing to fight, to deal with. I know that I need rest, and if I take a long weekend or a week off or something like that, I have a really hard time getting going again when I come back to my desk. And I also have trouble leaving at the end of the day. I have trouble stopping for the weekend, and partly because I know that once I stop, I'm going to have trouble getting going again. So for me, a big piece of this is figuring out how to get started. How do I get moving again? Um, and and really, when we think about motivation in general, taking action in general, there's two questions here. One is, what gets you into motion? Like what gets you started? Like that, this is one piece of the puzzle for you. And if you have good answers for yourself, you can fall back on them and you can go, oh, okay, this gets me into motion, right? These other things don't. And the things that don't, just put them aside. Just, be the scientist observing you and to see what gets you into motion, what gets you excited about taking action, what gets you to take action. It's a great question to find out in your own life, because when you know what those things are, you can continue to do them. Okay, so that's the first question: what gets you into motion? The second question is what keeps you going once you get started, because there's also this tendency to kind of fall off. It's maybe we can get going and we get excited about a goal and we work really hard at it for a little while, and then we stop for whatever reason, kind of fall off the wagon, so to speak. So what keeps you going, or what gets you going again, or what keeps you moving forward? So these are the questions we're gonna be exploring. And for today, we're gonna focus on the former question, which is what gets you going? What gets you going? And I want to introduce you to somebody you may have heard of. This is Mel Robbins, and she had a TEDx talk that I believe is in like the top 20 of all-time viewed TEDx talks. She has a book. She has built an empire around a very simple idea for how to get into motion. And this is the 5-second rule. And the 5-second rule, um, according to Mel, and I will share I'll share the link to her site. She's got a blog post that explains what the 5-second rule is, and there's a link to her TEDx talk, which, as Georgie and I were talking about, is actually a study in business branding and marketing. If you take a look at what this woman has done, it's pretty freaking amazing. How she's built this entire empire around this one idea, and that may actually be a topic for another show to talk about that in terms of building her work, in terms of gathering data and taking an idea and blowing it up into something really big. So yeah, the book is a 5-second rule, and this is Mel's, one line description about the 5-second rule is that if you have an impulse to act on a goal, you must physically move within 5 seconds or your brain will kill the idea. So what she's talking about here is when you have this kind of impulse that you should take an action to move forward, and that this is a good action to take. It's this little burst of an idea, and you're like, it's like intuitively you feel it. This would be a really good idea. And if you wait 5 seconds, that's all it takes, is for the brain to come in with thoughts about second guessing, procrastinating, feelings of whether or not you're worthy, feelings of, doubting whether it is as good an idea as you thought it would be. And the 5-second rule basically is, once you have that impulse, take action in 5 seconds. And she does it with the countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And by saying those numbers, you keep your brain occupied for those 5 seconds. So you know that it's a good idea to pick up the phone and follow up with that person you talked to last week. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pick up and dial. And when you say the numbers out loud, you're tricking your brain into not coming up with reasons why it's not a good time to call right now. So this is the basis of this is my really quick, I read it so you don't have to, on the 5-second rule. There it is. There's the countdown. But Mel Robbins is a very I find her to be a very inspiring speaker, and I like what she says. I find it kind of motivating. So what I'm going to do, we're going to try something new. I'm going to share a clip of Mel Robbins speaking to you. I hope we're going to experiment and see how this goes, and you can tell us what you think of this idea. Up to you whether you want to like it or not. But I'm going to share my sound. Optimize for video. George is going to tell me when you can see it.
Okay, I can see it. Not full screen yet, but I can see it.
Okay, we're going to go full screen. Tell me when we can see a full screen.
I see full screen. I even see it on Facebook.
Notice I said simple. I didn't say easy.
Can you hear it?
And the reason why it's not easy is because you have to deal with you. And now we know that you're a control freak and you're stubborn and you got all these excuses. You're a real pain. And I'm going to teach you, though, the very, very simple way to get what you want. There's only one rule when it comes to productivity. There's only one rule when it comes to success. There's only one rule to getting everything you've ever wanted. And here it is. You're never going to feel like it. Ever. In any area of your life that you don't have what you want, whether it's the amount of money, the amount of people on your team, the amount of sales, the amount of trips for your family, if you only did the things that you don't feel like doing, you'd have everything you've ever wanted. Those areas where you're happy, you do the work. Those areas where you're complaining, you don't feel like it, so you don't do it. So it's a lot like kids. If you think about it, what's your job as a parent? It's to make kids do the things they don't feel like doing so they can grow up and move out and become independent adults. My son never feels like getting off the DS. He never feels like putting his feet down when he's in the car. My daughter never feels like cleaning up the Barbies. I have no idea why they're always naked, by the way. Always naked. And the funny thing is, when you grew up and moved out, your parents never said to you, guess what? You are a total pain in the rear end. You never feel like doing anything. You don't feel like doing your homework. You don't feel like going out. You don't feel like making your bed. You don't feel like saying hello to strangers. You don't feel like using your manners. You don't feel like cleaning your room. Good luck to you. So the only way to get what you want is to parent yourself, but I'm going to make it easy for you. We're about to move. You've learned a ton about the brain now. The brain is going to screw you over. The brain is going to go into autopilot. The brain is going to tell you it doesn't feel like doing things. It's trickery. You now know that. So how do you be effective with yourself knowing that you're never going to feel like doing all the work that it takes to have this business be everything that it possibly could? So you're going to use the 5-second rule. And what that means is this. From the moment that you have the idea, I should email out the fall collection. I should go through the contact list for my college or university and reach out to people. I should go through my contact lists and invite 23 people this week to just take the dogs for a walk. I should make a request of a friend and ask if I can come do a presentation at lunch at his law firm. From the second you have that idea, you've only got 5 seconds to take action. Otherwise, it's gone. Your brain will swoop in so fast, it'll be like, uh-oh, there's an idea. No way. No way. You don't feel like it. You're overwhelmed. You've got 5 seconds, and that's it. Today, I want you to practice this because what you're going to notice is you're going to notice a little bit later, like in the networking section and afterwards and in some of these events after this particular speech, you're going to notice that you have an impulse. You have an impulse to walk towards somebody that's really successful, that's built a team that could possibly help you. And guess what? You're not going to do it. You've probably had them the entire time that you've been here. Oh, I should go over and talk to this person. I'll catch them later. Oh, that person looks really interesting. I don't know. I should really take some photos of this fall line and start to, that might be too pushy. So what you do, how does it work? You have the thought, you've got 5 seconds, that's it. And what do you need to do? Just say something out loud, that's one way. You could start walking. The second you feel like you should meet somebody because you're drawn to them, again, it's from here, it's not from here, start walking. Because if you're already walking, the likelihood is you'll actually make it to them. And then you're going to say something. Write it down, schedule it, send an email to yourself, or make the request. One of the things that was so interesting about talking to Tara this morning is it was clear that a couple people had been in there sharing their brains out about Jay Hilburn. And yet it never progressed into the side of the conversation of, would you like information? Would you like to do it? And I'm sure whoever it was that was lying on the table probably had that thought, like, I should probably say something. Should I? Getting a facial, is that weird? To be talking about business at the same time? 5 seconds gone. Talk yourself out of it.
And we're back.
And you're back. And we're back.
If we have comments on that, thoughts and stuff like that to share in the chat, let's just do that too.
Yeah.
Do we have anything? What do we think about that? What do we think about the 5-second rule?
We have very interesting. We have liked it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the things that Georgie and I talked about before this broadcast and about this idea of sharing this 5-second rule is some people don't have trouble taking action. And what they really need to do is take time and slow down and think a little bit more. So the 5-second rule and taking action on an impulse or whatever is absolutely amazing, fantastic when it's something that you know is a good move to make. It fits with your overall strategy. It's part of your plan. It's something that you have some thought behind. And for those of you who don't have those sorts of things, then you might want to 5-second rule yourself into developing more of a strategy, developing more of a plan, thinking things out first. Because if you don't have that larger container for what you're trying to do, you can find yourself, 5-seconding yourself into a whole lot of distractions and impulsive things. So I think that this is my perspective on it, is I think it is absolutely super fantastic for activating yourself into doing something. I've used this. It's managed to get me to get started on projects. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to open up that document and start writing, kind of thing. I find it really useful for that sort of thing, but I'm also concerned about having people implement this to take more actions without a lot of thought and reflection, because you can get yourself into trouble with that as well. So I'm just going to throw that out there around this idea.
So true. We've got one on Facebook. I tried it, but it doesn't work for me. I'm very stubborn. What works for me is hearing Georgie's voice in my head. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'm going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get up. No.
I love that. I love that. I tried it and it didn't work. Doesn't work for me. No, pass. That's awesome.
Exactly.
That's awesome. If Georgie's voice works, excellent. We've got hours of Georgie's voice on recordings here.
Exactly. Interesting technique to try. Not sure how it works if an idea comes during something I'm already doing, like being on this call. I think that's a really great question. And I think what you could do is you could write the idea down and know that as soon as I get off this call, I'm 5, 4, 3, 2, 1ing myself to take action on that idea. And not having the hesitation space there. I think the 5-second rule is good for starting projects like Patty suggested, but not so much for making big decisions.
Way to say it way more elegantly than I did. Absolutely. And in fact, that I'd almost go like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop when you're about to make a big decision impulsively.
Yeah, exactly. I think it can be really great for things like she was mentioning in the video, like especially for reaching out to people. I think it's really, really great for that, because that is a place where we get stuck and we're like, oh, I'm going to, oh, but I don't know, in a place where our brains can really, we can talk ourselves out of it so quickly. Well, maybe they're too big for me, or maybe they don't know me, or, you know, those kinds of things. And I can say, like, from experience, if I just, the impulse hits for reaching out to people, and then I just do it, and then I let it go. I'm not actually really attached to the outcome, but quite often I will find people that I find interesting, you know, and literally I'm like, hey, I find you interesting. I'm really curious about you. Do you want to get on a call? Like, when I say it, it sounds so bizarre and weird. And it works. But if I'm pretty sure if I were to give myself too much time, I probably wouldn't do it. I'd talk myself out of it. Or if I do too much research into who they are, that can also deter me a bit. But if it hits and reach out, it works. Maybe not when online shopping. Yes, that's probably a good idea. A useful tool to have in the toolbox for some situations. However, I noticed she used a lot of should in her examples. Well, and I think this is really a great thing, right? Of where would this work well for you, and where would this be a hindrance for you? Like we say, like online shopping, or using it to make these impulse decisions where it might not work so well. It's another one of these and things. You know, what's the context where this could work very well? If perhaps I, you know, spend a little more time in bed in the morning than I would like to for where I want to go and the things I need to do, this could be a really good strategy for that, where I'm going to commit to myself when I wake up in the morning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and my feet are hitting the floor. You know, so it's finding those contexts where this might work well, and then try it, see how it goes. Oh, this worked, this didn't work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You say that my feet hit the floor thing. Like, that's where she started with her. If you listen to her talk or read the book, that's where that came from. Is getting herself out of bed when she was depressed. That's the backstory with that.
So. Is there a way to use the 5-second rule for stopping research and going down rabbit holes? Oh.
I think that this is, you know, that I think this might be the reverse 5-second rule, right? So she's saying 5 seconds to get yourself to take action. Otherwise, your brain will stop you. So I think when you're about to do something like that, taking 5 seconds to decide whether that's a good action or not to follow might be like delay for 5 seconds versus count down for 5 seconds.
Yeah. Or even set yourself, if you know you have a tendency to get lost in the rabbit holes, okay, I'm going to do research, and I'm only going to research for 1 hour, and set an alarm. And when that alarm goes, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, have to close the browser. Game over. That's it. On to the next task. You know, some kind of, it's almost like some kind of reminder to bring you out of it, because it's so easy to get lost in the next click and the next click and the next click, especially when you're researching, and especially when it's something that you're really interested in. And then before you know it, hours are gone by. So I think it's kind of like one of those sort of commitment kind of things. Okay, when the alarm goes off, 5 seconds, because we can go, oh, just one more article. Oh, this was really getting good. Oh, I think I'm really close to what I need. And you know, it's that sneaky brain going off again in there, which can be, so I think it's tricky both ways, right? Tricky to stop and tricky to keep going when Maybe that's a distraction. Maybe it's not serving us. And again, it probably comes down to some of these underlying fundamentals of knowing what are the things I want to do, what's the direction that I'm heading, what are the things that are actually serving me to get that done, where am I stopping myself, and then what kind of tools can I pull out of my toolbox to help me get where I want to go. Let's see. Also, since I have a zillion things I want to do that enter my mind, it might cause a lot of pressure. Not so good, but I think the 5-second rule is a good idea for some situations. You brought up some good examples for the good use of the rule.
Yeah. I can tell you how I use it when I remember to use it. Is I have a lot of stuff that I need to get done, right? Like, and I'll dump it out of my head. Brain dump, all the stuff I want to do, great big long freaking to-do list, kind of organize it, kind of prioritize it. And then 5-second my rule into getting started on the thing that's most important. And it's just like because I feel fairly certain, like part of what I struggle with, this is my own personal kind of struggle here, is that I struggle with having competing stuff in my head. I find it hard to relax into doing a specific task or project more often. Tasks are easier, things that can be done quickly are easier, but when it comes down to a project, something I'm going to invest a couple of hours or a couple of days into, I have this kind of yap in my head going, is this really the most important thing to be doing? Shouldn't you be working on something else, right? Because I've got multiple things that I need to do. So I clear it out of my head, put it down on a piece of paper, and then I go, okay, this is the one that I'm going to focus on first. I have my rational decision-making kind of hat on where I go, okay, this is what needs to be done first, and I'm going to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 into getting started, because it's eat the frog, exactly. Like, what's that big ugly frog on your to-do list that you gotta choke down, kind of thing. And it's just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 into getting started. And for me, inertia, Isaac Newton, once I get going, I'm fine. And it's often like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It has to be something actionable. Like she talked about, you start walking across the stage, right? For me, picking up a phone and dialing it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, type in the numbers, click go. And it's just like, and I'm in the task before I even know what happened. It's like, I know I want to make the call, I know what I'm going to say, and it's just like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, type in the numbers and do it before before the voices say, oh, it's not a good time, should really call people on Monday, should probably leave it till Tuesday, because I am the master of procrastination, kind of justifications to not do that right now. But sometimes, it's like if I need to write something, it's like open the frickin' Word document. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 Word document. It's that kind of thing. Like what's the very first little step towards getting going? What's actionable? Because sometimes it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start the big project. It's not as actionable. It's like, what do I do? Okay, I'm starting a big project. I'm stuck already. Facebook.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, right? What's the actionable thing you can do, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feet hit the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Running clothes on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out the door. Like, there's
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, dial the number. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, open the document. It's having that clear thing. The other thing I do sometimes is I write down like ridiculously small steps to something. It's not 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, write a blog post. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, open WordPress. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, make a title, make an outline, just like, type, like it's almost like type stuff. It's like close down all your other browser windows, right? Like set that environment for focus. It's just, I'll write down minuscule little actions on my to-do list so that I can cross them off. That also provides motivation for me. I like crossing shit off my list. I'll write stuff on my list I've already done just so I can cross it off.
Because it feels good.
Because like I take a credit for that. I totally take a credit for that.
Exactly. I think this is a really great comment as well. I have a problem getting started on anything that I'm not sure what the next step is. I think that is such a common thing with many entrepreneurs, is not having that clarity on what the steps are. So then it's like, I don't actually know what I'm supposed to be doing. So I could 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 this all day, and I don't know, what is the next step that I could do that works for where I'm at. I think such a common question that we hear, for sure. And I think this kind of goes back to these fundamental pieces of, I need to know what my plan is. I don't need to know where I'm going. I need to know what are all the steps laid out in that. So then I'm like, oh, I see that's my step. I'm really resistant to it. Okay, now I can 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But I think without that clarity of what those pieces look like, it's really challenging. And I think that's one of the, I know we hear that with our clients before they started working with us, is that I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what working in my business looks like. I don't know what working on my business looks like. I don't actually know what those steps are. Such a common question. And I think this, especially when you're transitioning from, say, a job and now you're in your own business. When we go to our jobs, we know we've got the job description, we know what the work is, we know what our tasks are, we know what to do every day. And often when we're making that transition, we have no clue. We're like, yeah, because no one's told me kind of what those pieces are. And I think that can derail us too, because we're doing our best to try to figure it out. And then we've got this gigantic plan with this giant place we're going, and the steps aren't small enough, and there's no clarity within that.
Yeah. This goes back to what we were talking about in terms of having goals that are within your control or not, right? Having action-based kind of goals, like, a lot of kind of business, start your business advice is like, okay, set a goal for the number of clients you need, set a goal for, okay, break that down. How many do you need in a year? How many do you need in a month? How many do you need in a week? How many do you need today? And it's like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get clients. Need 4 today. Like it's not actionable enough.
Yeah, because you don't know what the steps are to do that.
Yeah.
What is my process?
And when there's so many options and you can't choose.
Yeah, exactly. Here we have another comment in the chat. There was some research that showed people who don't procrastinate focus on how much they need to do a task, and so are very motivated to get it done. Whereas people who procrastinate focus on how much they don't want to do the needed task, and so are more motivated not to do it. So saying, I need to do this might be a great 5-second countdown to action.
Maybe.
Yeah, could be. Or if you can link, like, say that the reason for doing the task, which is probably very similar to what they're saying in this research of mine, the meaning I've attached to this task and what it's going to get me and where it's going to take me, sometimes that can give us the motivation to do the things we're not super inclined to necessarily want to do. But being able to know, when I do this, this is what happens. And for me to get over here, this is a necessary step to get there. All right, I'll do it because I want that next thing or that end result or whatever that might be. Because tricky little minds. I love
our brains are not always our friends.
No, I think they're so fantastic. We were talking a little bit this morning about just our brains and how fascinating they are, and how do we get them to work with us? What are the best ways for that?
It's $1 million question, isn't it?
Isn't it? And especially when it comes down to, motivation and action. My current goal is reaching out to 3 people on LinkedIn. Last year goal was getting X clients by a particular date. Didn't work at all. Exactly. And I think this even goes back to the control. What do I have control over? I don't, actually have control over getting clients by a particular date, but I do have control over sending out 3 invitations a day or reaching out to 3 people on LinkedIn today. That is well within my control. It's incredibly actionable. I know what that looks like. I know how to do it. I know when it's done. It's super tangible. Where that space of, I want 10 clients by the end of the month. Okay, cool.
And that, but the thing is, the 10 clients by the end of the month is a great measurement kind of a stick to see whether or not the actions you're taking are getting the result that you want, right? So you need kind of both of them, right? So it's like, I'm going to take this action because I want this particular goal. And then I'm going to check in and review on a regular basis. It's like, okay, did I take the actions? Did I get the results that I want? Do I have some clues that I'm going to get the results that I want? Is this working in some sense when I project this trajectory out for a few months? If I continue doing this, does it look likely that I'm going to get those results that I'm looking for? And your answer might be, oh, I need to reach out to 10 people a day on LinkedIn. It's entirely possible.
Exactly. It's the data, right? It's having all these pieces and tracking and measuring. Because I think that's the other good piece of it too, is knowing, okay, I'm reaching out to 3 people a day, and what's the result of that? What's happening there?
Yep.
Is that moving me towards where I want to go?
Yep. It's and that's the big secret. It's a secret. I don't know. It's a secret. It's a trick. It's something in the magic wand bag. I don't know. It's that you don't know until you act. Like there's no real guaranteed sure thing. It's only that if you don't act, you won't get anything, right? It's just, but you get the information as you act. And you get better at taking actions. You get better at knowing which actions to take. And it's just so much easier, kind of to steer a moving bicycle kind of a thing, rather than to kind of stand there beside it and dream about where it might go.
Exactly. So true. We were talking about this on the weekend too, right? About companies and businesses that are successful. They are in action. They are creating that minimum viable product and getting it out there. See what happens. Give me some real life feedback, some real life data that I can actually use, as opposed to my imaginary stuff that I'm creating, but I'm not actually doing anything to move it forward and seeing what's happening. And you can get stuck in that loop for such a long time of wanting to create this perfect product, this perfect offer, this perfect program. It's really just something made up in your head, as opposed to, okay, what's the minimum thing I can do here to put it out there to see if people want it, to get some feedback, to see how they want it. How can I do this? And that requires, action, true action, as opposed to the imagination action, which we often also believe that, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm really working hard on my business. But is it getting you to business, which ultimately means you're bringing in some money? Like, that really is a business, is you're having money. So is what you're doing moving you towards that, or keeping you in imagination land? Okay, another chat. I love the chat. I love you guys are so engaged. It's awesome. Another thing related to motivation is something BJ Fogg, a behavior design professor who recently wrote a book called Tiny Habits, talks about. Actions won't need as high a level of motivation if the ability to do the item is easy or easier. He talks about asking oneself, how can I make this action item easier? And or asking oneself, what is making this hard? Yeah, it's really good. Really, really, really good. And I think that can even go back to the comment before. It could be hard because I don't really know what to do. I'm not actually moving because I don't know what the step is, or, and then it could come down to a skill or capability. Is there a skill I need to be able to do this, right? And go back to the Dilt's pyramid. Where am I stuck? Is it my environment? Is it my behavior? Do I need a skill? Is there a belief that's keeping me stuck? Why am I not moving?
that just want to use this example of phone calls because it's relevant to me. It might not be relevant to Georgie, but it's relevant to, if you're built like me, the phone call thing can be an issue. Reaching out, talking to people, initiating that kind of an outreach. It's like, okay, so what is the thing what's making it hard? What's making it easy? And it's like the actual, you were talking about this couple of broadcasts ago about this idea that the action itself is pretty easy. Do you know how to make the call? Do you know how to talk? Right? It's like those things are pretty easy, and it's just you just kind of follow the bouncing ball. And then, but if the hang up is I don't know what to say, then you need to put that in place. Like you're not helping yourself to 5-second rule yourself into making a phone call and feeling like a dumbass. Ask me how I know. I tried this shit, right? And it's just like, no, it's like if the problem is you don't know what to say, then figure that out. And then when you know what to say, and it's like if you can, for me, if I can walk through the whole task from beginning to end, if I have a rough idea of where I'm going with it, and I can reassure myself, like this is the other piece, I reassure myself that I am able to cope with the things that might not go exactly to plan, right? Because as soon as you bring another person into the situation, whatever your plan was gets totally derailed, right? It's like when you get calls by telemarketers. If you interrupt them and ask them to go backwards, you'll screw them right up because they're just following their script, right? Just like, but if you do something unexpected, they're going to have trouble recovering, right? So you kind of have to trust yourself to be in that moment and have a conversation. But sometimes it's just like scripting out the first few words that you have to say or the first thing you have to do. And it's like, am I going to look at that plan and I can go, okay, I've got it. Then I can 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 myself into starting it, into doing that very first piece of it. But it's, this is a balance, right? About thinking through what you need to do, making sure you have the skills, making sure that it fits with an overall kind of strategy and plan, and not getting into analysis paralysis. You know how I know about that? Of constantly wanting to refine the plan, constantly wanting to, like, well, what if myself to death on something? Like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this other thing happens? Like thinking 45 moves ahead kind of thing. Like there's this balance you need to find for yourself in terms of getting, moving forward.
Exactly. So true. Yeah, I was trying to think. I often see, this is where my level of impatience works for me sometimes with phone calls, because I'll be like, okay, what am I going to say? And then I will often get frustrated with, if I'm trying to write it out, I'm like, oh my God, this is going nowhere. Screw it. I know how to figure this out. Hi, my name is Georgie. And then but for me, I'm okay bombing the first one, which typically it doesn't actually happen. I can somehow stumble through it. And then I have, okay, this worked well, that worked well. Now I'll go through it. In my mind, I think I typically have a bit of an idea of what I'm going to say. Usually it would make it much easier if I did. And with my personality, and sometimes I get impatient with myself. So I'm like, I'm just doing it. But I definitely think when you are making phone calls and those kinds of things, having that bit of a, just an idea script, not something that you have to follow word for word, but just a little bit, even, okay, hi, my name is Georgie. I'm calling for, and knowing what you're calling for, because once the conversation started, it does create a flow for itself. And I think also knowing, when we talk about phone calls, what's the outcome of the phone call I want? Am I phoning to find the right person to talk to? Am I phoning to actually make an appointment? Am I phoning to actually try to pitch my stuff? But it's because sometimes even breaking that down with, I'm making this call to find the right person to talk to. That's not as threatening as I'm phoning to see if I can offer my services. I'm just phoning to see who I need to talk to. And sometimes you get that person, but again, it's these little mind tricks, right? But you can, oh, great, you're the person. Awesome. Well, I'd like to set an appointment with you. Okay. My only intention is I just want to book an appointment, and breaking those things down makes it easier. But I really like the one of looking for the person to talk to, because it does a couple things, especially if you get like a receptionist or something. You can start building relationships with people, and it's honest, right? Hi, my name is Georgie. I'm calling to see if you guys do training for your offices right now. Okay, and I'm just curious. Okay, you do that. Well, who would I need to talk to? This is, and I've been super honest. I'm building this thing. I'm looking for this. I'd like to move into your kind of industry. So I don't know who I need to talk to. Can you help me? People love to help you. And it's true. It's totally honest.
There's that get out of jail free card again.
It is, right? It's like, oh yeah. Oh, sweetie, no problem. Yes, I get it. We've been, it's human to human. This is what happens when we be human.
I'm trying to remember who said it. It might have been Jill Conrath, but one of the sales trainers was saying that their effectiveness rate on cold calls went up when they identified themselves as a salesperson. It's just like, yeah, hey, this is Joe, and I'm calling to sell you something. It disarmed people because it was honest, right?
It's honest. I know why you're calling. Okay, you're going to call me to sell. I'm calling to sell you something, and I'd like to see if it's something you need.
Yeah.
Okay. Nope, don't need it. Oh, interesting, might need it. We totally need it. Your timing is perfect.
Yeah.
Right? It's that honesty thing. Ooh, I like this one. Phone calls are hard right now when many people aren't in their office at their business phone number. This is brilliant. It means you get voicemail. They're checking their voicemail, guaranteed. And then it's like, oh, hey, I left your voicemail a few days ago. I know it's kind of crazy and busy. Just following up again. Oh, look, now I have your email. Hey, just sending you an email. I realize that with these situations, you might not be checking your voicemail as often as possible. Just wanted to follow up with an email. Hey, Facebook Messenger. Hey, you know what? I realize things are really crazy right now. I sent you a voicemail and realized you're probably not even in your office. So then I sent you an email and thought, oh my God, you might be a little slow to get the email. So just to make sure I didn't fall through the cracks, I thought, hey, we're getting more social. I hit you up on Facebook. Like, this is my mind, right? I'm like, oh, because and for me, and it's just a game, I guess I play with myself, but I'm like, oh, maybe they didn't get my voicemail. Oh, maybe my email did get buried. Oh, maybe they're on social media more because they're at home. I don't know. Never enters my mind that, oh God, they're going to think, I don't know what they're thinking. I only know what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's possible. It's technology we're talking about. So yeah, that's literally my mode of thinking. And I find it fun. Ooh, what if they do answer me on Instagram? Cool.
I think we should change the topic name. It could be like Monday Mind Games.
Monday Mind Games. Oh, it's so funny. So funny. Any other thoughts, questions?
We have 4 minutes left.
4 minutes about motivation and Monday.
And if you want to play along and direct your motivation at something, what's on your schedule for this week? What's the big thing that you want to accomplish this week?
Yeah.
You can share it right now in the chat or on Facebook, or if you're watching the video, you can type it into a comment. But it's like, what are you working on right now?
Totally.
What's the most important thing that you could do this week to move your business forward?
Exactly. And if you're playing with us in the comfy, cozy Facebook home office
if you're playing with us on the home game.
You're playing with us on the home game, and you're in our Facebook group already. I think I'm going to post these questions too about what gets you in motion and what keeps you moving. Having a sales call with Georgie and Patty. yeah. No. Dancing in my chair. Super awesome.
Hey, that's a to-do list item that everyone could adopt.
Yes, exactly. If you guys don't have anything on your list, feel free to take that one. Send out information for those attending the May 20 event asking for their pet peeves. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, if you're, this is for online mistakes, for online presentation mistakes, correct? What are your pet peeves with online presentations? Very cool. Very cool. People that sing in their webinars and shows. Just kidding, because I like it.
People with silly jingles.
Oh, but I make them up all the time.
People that go off topic.
Oh, yeah. Terrible.
Too much
Terrible.
laughing and giggling.
Too many laugh. We get that from people. We get hate mail about that. Maybe only once or twice, but it's okay. Too much laughing. Awesome. Very, very cool. All right. Well, tomorrow.
Tomorrow's
I
read it,
special
so you
new
don't have
edition.
to.
Yeah, I read it, so you don't have to. Patty's gonna share her thoughts and pet peeve. People who aren't authentic, like Georgie and Patty. I love laughing. Woohoo!
Excellent.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so tell them what you're going to share tomorrow about the book. Well, not
Yeah,
everything, because yeah.
I'm not going to. I'm going to go on and on and on about it. But 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I read it, so you don't have to. And yeah, we're give you a quick overview of what is in the book. But more importantly, I think how I've used what I've learned in the book in a way that helped me personally and helped me with my business, and just kind of share that kind of perspective with it. But it has it's a great book. It's got some really usable things and some things that, you know, the book's been around for a while, and a lot of the stuff has turned into like buzzword bingo, and unfairly, I believe, because I think the concepts in the book are wonderful. I think the implementation kind of sucks in some cases, but the actual concepts and advice in the book are completely life and business changing. I'm a big fan, and I'm gonna gush all over Stephen Covey tomorrow.
Woohoo! All right, can't wait. Looking forward to it.
All right.
Seeing all your shiny faces, or shiny names, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, if you like the show, if you like the video, if you want to learn more, we're at 10kprogram.com.
That's right. Bye.
Bye.